Hey there, YouTube. We're going to go ahead and hop over into Israeli news right now, and just got a couple stories, so this will be a quick one. Um, this is just an amazing picture. I believe, I think someone in the Discord might have linked this one. But a Palestinian school demolished by Israeli occupation forces last week in Hebron, occupied Palestine. So, and someone in the comment section here nailed it. Let's see here. Da-da-da-da. Oh man, everything moves around. There was a great comment about how this is about how this is a very structured program to make Palestinian lives as miserable as possible, make it so that their children can't get educated, make it so that they can't get the necessities that they need, cooking oil and medicines and things like that. And knocking down schools, this is just a normal part of it. They have some stupid fucking excuse. They always do. So, it's always some safety, something or that. But the like I said before, and I'll say it again, the idea is to get as many Palestinians together, concentrate into like Palestinian ghettos, and then they're just basically going to take over the rest of the Gaza Strip and the rest of the West Bank, and that's the end goal. And what we see now in Jerusalem, or I'm not in Jerusalem, in Israel, is a coalition between the far right Netanyahu government with the even further right government of some guy that looks like he fell out of Human Centipede 2, and was seen brandishing a gun and almost opening fire on a crowd of Palestinians just a couple months ago. Can't remember his name at the moment. I'm sure we'll hear his name in these next couple clips. So if you're sick and tired of your taxpayer dollars going funding this, funding the IDF and funding the Israeli military, make sure you let your local politicians know, because right now the local politicians, the loudest voice that they're hearing from is the artificially amplified voice of the Israeli political lobbies. They have a grand majority of U.S. politicians under lock and key because it's so easy, right? I mean, they're almost literally taking the money given to them by the United States government, and then bribing our own politicians to then get them to, and it's a vicious cycle. It's so bizarre to hear American politicians talk about how we need to sacrifice everything for the integrity of Israel. And I'm always wondering, like, what's our allegiance to Israel here? Is this some religious connection? The reality is that Israel is a useful military satellite that allows us to project our power in the Middle East. That's the main goal of Israel, and that's why Israeli military gets to enjoy all the taxpayer funded weapons that that come from the United States. It's just I think it's the Palestinian problem is like, I think we'd rather have Israel being a loyal military ready to strike Iran at any time. I think we'd rather have that than peace with Palestine, because obviously, I mean, I think that's how the conversation goes, is that like, oh well, we'd really prefer if you would just play nice, and be really nice if you would, and oh yeah, we'll think about it, maybe. It's pretty clear what the fucking project is by now, and they're almost complete. They're almost done.
On Thursday, the prime minister.
So it's like, can we talk? Like, we're not even. They're not even going to let us have a conversation about what the plan was, even after they've completed it. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, oh, it's just a natural thing that just happened. Just they all decided to go crowd themselves into tiny little ghettos, and they just gave us all the land. It just happened naturally. I mean, it's going to be funny because, like, we're not even going to be able to have, without being called anti-Semites, we're not going to be even able to have a conversation about, the takeover even after it's completed, right? Without being accused of being a hardcore anti-Semite.
On Thursday, the prime minister to be, Benjamin Netanyahu, signed a coalition deal with the extreme right faction Religious Zionism.
So this fella right here, Religious Zionism.
Party won the most votes in elections last month. Netanyahu signed agreements with two other extreme right factions as well.
So, and this guy was just put in charge of the settlements. He was just put in charge of all that. So extremely hardline, thinks Palestinians are not human, and is proud of saying it, is now in charge of Palestinian lives. There will be Travis. There will be. I mean, get your Enya mixes out, okay? Corpses, dead bodies. This man might plunge Israel into a straight up war with the remnants of the Palestinian nation.
Let's cross now to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Iris Mackler. Iris, one thing that is striking is how religious this new government is shaping up to be.
Yes, it is a very religious government, and I think that's part of what's causing concern here. There are more religious members of this government than there are Likud members when you add up all the other parties. And when you look at it, you see there are not many women. There are many men with beards, many old men with beards, and they are not Democrats. You know, they are religious. That's their primary belief. One of the most controversial leaders, Bezalel Smotrich, has said he wants to establish Israel as a theocratic state. So when you start with that, you see that they have an agenda which includes, I suppose, issues that make the people who do respect democracy in Israel very worried. They include, most importantly, an override clause so that the parliament can override the courts. You know, there's always a tussle between the courts and the parliament in every country that there is. But here, what they want to do with only one house, with only 120 seats, not even a two-seat parliament, a two-house parliament.
Just look at him, man. Look at him. He's nothing but trouble. He's nothing but trouble. He's relatively young. He's incredibly angry. He's ready to do it. He would. I get the feeling that he'd pull the trigger himself. You know, if he was sitting there watching an IDF sniper do his work, I have a feeling, let me pull the trigger. There's a certain bloodlust to this man.
With only 120 seats, not even a two-seat parliament, a two-house parliament, what they want is just to override it. And that means that each of these...
And Netanyahu wants power no matter what. So if he's got to sign a coalition government with these hardliners, fine. Do I get to be in charge? Okay.
Parties has its own special wish list. The religious Zionist parties want to override laws that say that certain settlements in the West Bank are not legal because they're built on Palestinian land. The court said that. They want to override that. The ultra-Orthodox parties want to ensure that their young men are not conscripted into the military like every other young man in Israel. And they want to perhaps also ensure that women can be separated in the public space. So all of these things altogether, you can see, are very worrying for people who believe in a liberal and democratic, and at the very least, a democratic Israel. And we have heard Benjamin Netanyahu...
Quite frankly, Israel hasn't been democratic since its inception. That's just a fact.
Assuring people, both here and overseas, that he's a Democrat, he's always been a Democrat, it won't be a big change, it'll just be a right-wing government. But other people say, you know, he's riding a tiger, and when you ride a tiger, it's hard to dismount.
Well, yeah, and one thing that has a lot of people concerned both inside and outside of Israel are social issues.
Party.
And
that was his party. I think the guy that I was talking about, the guy with the glasses, didn't he have a picture of this guy in his office for a very long time until the political pressure required him to take it down?
How they may play out under this new very right-wing government.
Yes, let's take one politician with whom he has done a deal. Tiny party, 2 members, super far right, very anti-LGBTQ interest.
It was a different picture of a guy who committed a mass shooting against Palestinian people. And he had that guy's picture. So it'd be literally like a U.S. politician having Ted fucking Kaczynski pictures in his office.
very anti-women. They shouldn't be in the army. They shouldn't be in the public space. In an ordinary government, he wouldn't get a look in. In this far-right government, there's a negotiation that's been carried out. He's been given an important position in the Education Ministry in charge of content there with a big budget as well, not just a nominal authorisation. And he said, right, I'm getting right into it. And Israelis who didn't know his name before the last election now all know it very well.
Goldstein.
And there's protests against him that have begun with local authorities who are in charge of education. Israel's outgoing Prime Minister has joined.
Yeah, he had a picture of that guy up in there. And I wouldn't be surprised if he just put it back up now that he's back in power. Now that he doesn't have to pretend like he gives a shit about Palestinian lives.
In that protest and said this is
dangerous. He barely
dangerous.
had to.
Women's groups, including ultra-Orthodox women's groups, are very concerned about where this leads for them. And you're seeing an alliance between feminists who are religious and feminists who are not religious, secular Israelis and religious Israelis, because ultra-Orthodox women say we are going to be the losers from this set of reforms. I think one of the most revealing things that I've heard in the past week is that a former Israeli military chief of staff who recently joined politics, very restrained kind of guy, you might say not a typical Israeli military guy, very thoughtful. He said if Netanyahu brings in these reforms and allows democracy to be challenged, millions of Israelis have to go out onto the street to defend their democracy. And that's the discussion going into the swearing in of this new government.
Yeah, that would be something to see. Okay, our correspondent in Jerusalem, Iris Mackler. Iris, thanks so much for that.
That ain't happening. I mean, maybe, I'm not going to sit here and claim ultimate knowledge, over the, Israeli military, but I don't know, for some reason, I just don't see that as very likely. Hey, real quick, normally I'd end the video before you'd see this, but hey, Israeli video watcher, you get to see this bonus video that I do in my streams. I try to sprinkle in these fun videos in the stream. If you want to join it, you can check the link in the description to the Twitch chat here. But take a look at this. A Serbian harbor dredging in 2021. Look what happens, and look how the person on this boat escaped. I do believe there are people over here as well. Maybe not. I don't know. But they all do seem to be running in this direction near the end of the video. You'll see what I mean. But take a look at this. Look at that. Look at this guy. This is amazing. This is amazing. Watch this. He's like, couldn't wait. Boom! Gets it. Gets it. I'm almost certain this thing is rubbing up against the machine that's doing the dredging. Pretty wild fucking video, huh? Well, there you go, folks. That's the Israeli news I have for today. Have a good one.